We're back, and you're listening to Where You Live with Gene and Tony. We're broadcasting live from the Concierge Landscape Studios. We're also brought to you this hour by Extreme Exteriors. And if you're just joining us, we're going to be talking about what happens when you don't cross all your T's and dot all your I's.
The legal consequences for not filling out your resale disclosure certificate fully and correctly.
Yes, and with all the information. Sometimes folks would like to kind of poo-poo some of the information, say, no, let's downplay this by not adding it in there.
Gene, you taught us at New Concepts that we should be disclosing on the HOA resale disclosure even pending issues if it's going to affect residency. So, for example, if the board has been discussing a pet restriction or a rent restriction, if it's in process, you've always said better to disclose than not to disclose, because by the time this person actually closes on their home, this new rule might be in effect.
Oh, yeah. You can... and people get upset with that. I mean, I can't tell you how many times we've had a homeowner call and say, "You're causing us to lose this deal." And you try to tell people at that time, you know what? We're not doing that at all.
Right.
The facts are the facts. The purpose of the disclosure is for there to be an impartial body that puts together certain factual information that the buyer can take to the bank and say, yep, that is true. That is what is happening. And it allows them to make the decision, do I want to buy this place?
You know, I worked with a homeowners association that amended and actually revised their whole set of governing documents and put in some rental restrictions. And one of the things was a limit on what percentage of the units in the association could be rental units, because they were trying to deter or prevent investors from buying up units just to use as rental. Well, they put me in a catch-22, because if someone called in advance and said, I want to know before I buy what the deal is on rentals in this association, the board wouldn't let me say anything to them. I could only disclose it on the resale disclosure. So by that time, the person has already written a purchase agreement. So it was kind of this catch-22. I can't tell people in advance, but they're going to find out later that there's restrictions on rentals. So it was a tough one.
And so people need to know that, people are always asking, what is considered a material fact? What do I have to disclose? What don't I? The rule of thumb always ought to be, if you know something to be a material fact for someone, then you need to disclose.
Now, you don't have to disclose paranormal activity. Do you remember when that was up for discussion a few years back? New disclosure legislation went through for real estate sales in general, and that was a question. All right, what if this place is haunted? Are we required to disclose that in the real estate disclosure? And it was decided, no, you don't.
Okay, I guess
in case anyone's worried about that, I just wanted to mention it.
I guess the idea or thinking is that that's really not a material fact, right?
That's an immaterial. That's an ethereal fact.
Ethereal fact, but we're talking about a material fact.
There you go.
And so let's talk a little bit about what's going on here. In this is happening. Where is this happening? Where this is
Baltimore.
In Baltimore.
Yeah.
There we go. Thank you. And here's what happened. It says that there is a homeowner, and his name is Paul C. Clark. And he maintains that he has not been able to live in his luxury condominium since March of 2010. Now, Clark has sued Zalco Realty and the 100 Harborview Drive Council unit owners, I guess that's the name of the association, for what he calls misrepresentation and damages because he is alleging that there was information that they knew about mold issues and concerns in the association, but did not let him know that prior to him purchasing that home.
They didn't disclose it on the resale certificate, is what he's saying.
Yes, and at this point, the real crux of it is the association, I think, was trying to hopefully either get out of things or hopefully thinking that it would be much better for them if they were to hold up and say, well, wait a minute, the homeowner association's governing documents has a clause or stipulation in here that says that if there's a disagreement that things will go to arbitration before going to court.
Right. Their documents say that.
Yes. And so they were trying to hang their hat on that. But what this news story was bringing out was that the judge was saying, you know what, no, I think we're going to, in this particular case, I think we're going to let that go, and we're going to allow the homeowner to sue the association
to go directly to court. Yeah. I guess I don't have a strong opinion about that. I think that I always prefer adhering to the governing documents, but he went to court. He got a judge to rule on this and say that he could go ahead with this lawsuit, and it's certainly a serious issue.
Oh, it is. It was something that was determined that there was what was considered black mold,
Dangerous.
which I think is considered the really bad stuff that really can be harmful.
Yeah.
Now, there are other types of mold that aren't harmful at all.
That's right, and there's mold present everywhere, naturally, in nature.
But talk about this. This is a situation where people just go bonkers, don't they, in any association?
Well, mold is a 4-letter word, that's for sure. And I try and avoid saying it unless it's absolutely necessary, because like you said, most mold is not terribly harmful, although some people, I think, are more sensitive to it than others, just like any kind of plant allergy. There are people who are more sensitive. But in this case, this man paid more than $1.15 million for his luxury condominium, and after he purchased, a warning sign was posted in the entrance saying you should wear a respirator before you enter the building. Now, that's pretty darn dramatic.
That's a little disconcerting, isn't it?
No kidding. I mean, that's huge.
Well, when you put it that way, Tony, I guess you can't.
Yeah, you can't ignore that.
Yes.
And this should have been, it sounds like this should have been disclosed, right?
Oh, definitely. The article goes on to talk about how the homeowner association 13 months prior had a special town hall meeting and it was called a mold awareness workshop.
So they can't say they weren't aware of the problem.
Yes. Here was a case where someone said, you know what, I don't think that we want to, make a big issue on this. But, boy, folks, you can't let this go. It looks like we've got a gentleman, Dan, that is on the line right now. Good morning, Dan.
Hey, good morning, guys. I just want to make sure that you're all aware, and I apologize. I did look for 15 to 20 minutes, and I just can't put my hands on the instructions that came with my flag for proper display of my American flag. But I just want to make sure that you know that it's perfectly fine to display the flag by hanging it. You don't have to hang it. You don't have to display it on a flagpole. That's not the only way to properly display the American flag. I just want to make sure you know that.
Okay. Yep, and that's a good point. It can be hung on a wall, I believe.
Like I say, I know it can, but like I said, I wish I could have put. I was trying to get my hands on it. If you Google it, I'm sure you could Google proper display of the American flag and see it.
Well, that certainly, Dan, I appreciate you calling for that clarification. And let me just say that does not negate what the homeowner association said, because they were quoted. It was in the written article that the news reporter did not say, and that is they said, please show to us that the way you're displaying this flag is in keeping with the United States flag, and we're okay with it. Yeah. So they're just.
I think that it would be. I mean, I'm not an expert on it.
Yeah.
But I think that, like I said, I wish I could have put my hands on this.
Yeah.
That's why I hesitated to call in.
No, I'm glad you did.
I told you, screener, I didn't want to even be connected to you because I couldn't put my hands on it, and I knew it was going to come to exactly where we are.
Not at all. I think that's a great point.
All you want to do is Google it, and I think you'll see that,
Yeah.
that what the homeowner is doing is perfectly fine.
Okay, interesting. Yeah.
I think
Well-
you'll see it.
Okay, thanks,
Thanks,
Dan.
Dan.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
So I appreciate
And
that
that's a very good point.
clarification.
We can get so much information on the internet at the touch of a button. And although Dan said he was having trouble coming up with it, that happens to me all the time too.
That's
You
why
gotta-
we've got some of the best listeners
That's right.
in radio
help.
calling us all the time. So
That's right.
We appreciate that. And again, we want to emphasize the association. I think they were being genuine in their
I
concern.
do too. And
saying,
I still have, I guess too, I still think that the association or any community should be able to have a rule about what can be hung in the windows. I don't know that there's anything, and I've read the rules for hanging the American flag. I was a Cub Scout leader for a
Yeah.
while. I don't think it talks about hanging it in a window. I think it talks about hanging it on a wall.
Yeah.
The blue field has to be either
Yeah.
in the upper left or upper right. I can't remember.
well,
but-
in this case, I think we're right. The federal law, and of course it was emphasized with Minnesota state legislature too, the display of the American flag, that's not a question.
That's right. It can be done a certain way, and you can find
this-
those rules.
And,
Yeah.
but the law specifically states the United States flag. It does
Yeah.
not refer to other types of flags.
Sure.
In this case, the association said clearly, we will allow it if you can show to us that this is in a manner keeping with the United States flag. Now, if they've
Yeah.
decided that that's the rule, hey, then
Sure.
I guess that's
Sure.
okay.
Sure. Right.
But you're right. You make the point. If they said we don't want this
In the window.
window, I think they'd be okay with that.
Yeah,
too.
I do too.
But thanks, Dan, for calling. So let's go back to this issue here with this homeowner association and this gentleman who was having an issue because he was not told of
Yeah.
mold in the property. And you know what? It's a huge deal. And looking at it, there's a bunch here we want to cover, but I see by the clock on the wall, it's time for another break. So
Okay.
let's take one right now. When we come back, we're going to talk more about what is happening at the Harborview condominiums in this mold lawsuit. We'll be back after these messages.